which ending actually happened in Security Breach Ruin, and what's going to happen next. I've seen a lot of debate of what actually happens in the ending of Ruin. Was it the Mimic who cut the elevator? Was it Gregory who cut the elevator? If you are a little bit confused on that and you want a better idea to have a final decision at the end of this video's for you. I'm going to give you both sides of the argument, if it was Gregory or the Mimic. We're also going to be looking into the files as well, because it's very important. And what's going to happen after. Whether the Mimic or Gregory cut that elevator, I do think it's going to lead to the next game. It's not 100% confirmed that the elevator ending is the canon ending in Ruin, but I think it makes the most sense. One of the endings is called the Brazil ending, where Cassie puts on the mask and goes to the Fredbear with the ice cream. We get an ending of Gregory and Vanessa and Helpy eating ice cream, having a nice time. It's all happy and cute and adorable. In reality, that is Cassie hallucinating that with the mask on and probably getting killed by the Mimic while that's happening. A very dark ending. I'm pretty confident that's not the canon ending. It's a very abrupt ending, and Steelwool wouldn't do that as the canon ending. I don't think the Scooper ending is canon either. It's just an alternate ending that Steelwool added to show us killing the Mimic, activating this really cool looking Scooper, and killing the Mimic in that room. I don't believe that's going to be the canon ending either. It's just a cool cutscene ending, a reward for finding the secrets on the cameras. So to me, in my opinion, it's not 100% confirmed. I think the elevator ending is the canon ending. After Cassie's tricked by the Mimic is now set free. Gregory then guides Cassie to the elevator to escape. Gregory has a friend who is probably Vanessa, who knows the layout of how to escape and stuff. Cassie then gets into the elevator, and then randomly out of nowhere, Gregory suddenly switches and decides to turn on Cassie, cutting the elevator because the Mimic is too dangerous and that the Mimic will follow them and cause a bunch of chaos. Gregory then decides to cut the elevator, stopping the Mimic from escaping, but also, unfortunately, Cassie gets sacrificed for that. I will show the full clip of that as a recap, so here you go.
It's me. I think I need to explain a few things. You were never supposed to go to the Pizzaplex. That thing in the sinkhole tricked you. I really don't know what it is, but it's been trapped down here a really long time. The Nexus security program was designed to keep it hidden, but you shut down the security, and now it's free. It's not your fault. I know you did it for me. To save me. But we can't risk being followed. I'm sorry.
Gregory? No!
This is the most controversial question in Ruin. Was it the Mimic who cut the elevator, or was it actually the real Gregory? If it was the Mimic, let's try and think of something like why the Mimic would cut the elevator. We said in our video the other day about the Mimic is aggressive. You know, Mimic's programming has learned to be an aggressive, brutal killing machine. If Cassie's about to escape, the Mimic might choose to kill Cassie rather than escaping, right? That's literally the only thing I can think of. That it is the Mimic's programming to kill whatever it sees. And if it sees Cassie about to escape, the Mimic is going to choose killing Cassie over getting out. Why would the Mimic cut the elevator? You know, throughout the whole game, the Mimic wants to escape. The seal has been destroyed where the Mimic was originally, so couldn't the Mimic just go back there and escape? Oh yeah, I forgot. I could just walk back and escape from the seal that got broke earlier. Hi Cassie, sorry about that. And he could just walk back through the cave system and just escape through the Pizzaplex. One of the biggest reasons why people think the Mimic cut the elevator, when you're in the elevator about to escape, audio static happens just before Gregory starts talking about not allowing Cassie to escape.
It's not your fault.
Did the Mimic do this on purpose to make Cassie think that Gregory cut the elevator even though it wasn't Gregory? Was this another way the Mimic is trying to manipulate Cassie into not trusting Gregory in the future. Maybe in the next game, Cassie might be teaming up with the Mimic or something. But yeah, that's literally all I could think of as to why the Mimic would cut the elevator rather than Gregory. Onto the controversial one. Why would Gregory cut the elevator? The Mimic is incredibly dangerous. Can you imagine what would happen if the Mimic did escape the Pizzaplex and started roaming around in the streets and stuff? Gregory even says that the Mimic will follow them. He's going to go after Gregory and Vanessa straight away. But I feel like it's more like the threat of the Mimic that Gregory was worried about rather than himself. In my Mimic video the other day, I told you guys how dangerous the Mimic is. You know, he can rip people apart. He killed dozens of people in the Pizzaplex stories like that. But at the same time, you got to think about the friendship that Cassie and Gregory had. From those cutouts throughout the game, it does seem like Gregory and Cassie had a good friendship. Then you also think, you know, if Gregory and Cassie are friends, why would he do that to Cassie? I think either choice is a bit confusing. There is one thing I need to discuss with you guys. Now, you need to take this with a grain of salt, and it's the actual audio files in Ruin. Throughout the game, whenever the Mimic talks dialogue in the game, Steel will label that as Grimmick. Gregory Mimic, the Mimic. So any dialogue that the Grimmick says throughout the game, through the walkie-talkies and stuff, if it's not the true Gregory, they call it Grimmick. Throughout the whole game, all of the walkie-talkie dialogue, the ending cutscene when we see the Mimic, it is labelled Grimmick. Whenever it is actually Gregory talking, there's a few parts of Ruin throughout the game where it is actually Gregory trying to contact us, trying to talk to us. It is labelled as Gregory, the real Gregory. I hope that makes sense. Pretty self-explanatory. Whenever the Mimic's talking, the files say Grimmick. Whenever the real Gregory's talking, it says Gregory. When Cassie is being guided through the caves, that dialogue is Gregory. It is labelled in the files as Gregory. So that is the real Gregory talking at that moment, guiding Cassie throughout the caves. The audio file for when the elevator is cut is also Gregory. It is not labelled as Grimmick. It is not labelled as the Mimic. That ending part where Gregory decides to cut the elevator, in the files, that is labelled as Gregory, not Grimmick. But obviously, please take that as a grain of salt. It doesn't confirm that it is Gregory at the end of that. I'm just giving you the facts. And the facts are that end speech by Gregory is labelled as Gregory. Okay? And throughout the whole game, when the Mimic is talking through the walkie-talkie and stuff, that's all labelled as Grimmick. The only times when the audio is labelled as Gregory in the files are the few instances where Gregory is trying to contact Cassie. One point when we go and see Roxy for the first time and Gregory asks where we are you there, Cassie? That was the real Gregory in the files.
Gregory.
Because the only times when it is actually Gregory talking, Steel will label it as Gregory in the files. And they did that with the end speech before the elevator gets cut. So, now fun fact, guys, there was actually a different ending originally for the elevator part. Originally, or it was going to be an alternate ending, the elevator was not going to be cut off at all. And Gregory just said to Cassie, I know you were trying to save me, just don't let the Mimic follow you. Here's the audio file. It's legit.
It's not your fault. I know you did it for me. To save me. But make sure it doesn't follow you.
Another thing to add for more evidence that it was Gregory talking to Cassie. Did Steelwall decide to change this for Gregory's character arc as a twist? Maybe to make people theorize about the ending like we're doing right now. But Steelwall did decide to change the ending, and instead of Cassie escaping, they decided to change it and cut the elevator. It's actually more harsh than what we originally thought, even though he murdered a bunch of the Glamrock animatronics in the first game. One of the Pizzaplex stories shows how evil he can be, even though he was possessed by Glitch Trap, but we won't go into that. And did they want to show that Gregory is not as good as he seems, as in, like, You know, if Gregory has to make a brutal decision, whether to save his friend or stop the mimic from killing a bunch of people when he escapes the Pizzaplex, you know, what choice would you make? What choice would you make if you were in that scenario, that last minute scenario? Gregory realizes, hold on, if I help Cassie at this point, the mimic's going to escape. The trolley problem. It's literally the trolley problem, guys. Do you allow the train to just stay the course, kill a bunch of people, or do you change the track to just kill one person but save the other people? Would you cut the elevator, you know, sacrificing Cassie to stop the mimic from escaping to kill a bunch of people, or do you just allow the elevator to go up, Cassie escapes, but also the mimic escapes as well? Put yourself in Gregory's shoes for that moment, you know. Evidence with a grain of salt. All the audio files say Gregory at the end of the cutscene. The scrapped ending where Gregory just lets her get out, and Steelwall changing that for the elevator to get cut off. And then it doesn't really make sense for the mimic to cut the elevator because the mimic's arm got cut off and it was going up. So how does the mimic cut the elevator if he's still down there? Controversial, I know, but it leans more towards that rather than the mimic cutting the elevator. I had to put this in, guys. I've just had a haircut. That's why I look a bit different when I got back. Gregory doesn't even know that's Cassie in the elevator. Remember that as well, guys. Gregory could have just thought the mimic was coming up in the elevator. He knows what the mimic's like, so, you know, he could have got confused at that point. We'll also mention the final part when the elevator crashes too. We do hear Roxy say Cassie right at the end.
Cassie.
Was that the mimic or was it actually Roxy? Again, we don't know, but take this with a grain of salt. In the audio files, it says Roxy who says that, not the mimic. I hope Roxy survived the mimic's wrath when they had a fight and Roxy does save Cassie at the end, because I feel like that would lead on to something really good for the next game. I don't know why the mimic would do that. I don't know why the mimic would mimic Roxy at the end. Like, I don't understand why. It doesn't really make sense for the mimic to do that. If the mimic saw Cassie at the end, the mimic would just kill her. I think Steelwall did that to tease the next game, to show that Cassie is still alive, and this is going to lead on to something else in the future. And that's what I've said, guys. I've said whatever happened, whether it was the mimic or Gregory who cut the elevator, it will lead to another game. I think Cassie is still alive. I think Cassie survived that elevator fall, and it's going to lead to the future game. This is then going to lead to what I would like to see for the sequel of Security Breach, whether it's Security Breach 2 or whether it's a completely different name. This is what I would really like to see. So Steelwall, if you're watching, here are some ideas. You probably have it already planned and stuff. First things first, Steelwall want to keep making FNaF games. I think it's pretty obvious that they're going to continue what's happened with Ruin. They're already making Help Wanted 2. After Help Wanted 2, what are they going to do next? I feel like they're either going to make a Fredbear Origins game or a game that leads off of Ruin. Or both. Guys, this is what I'm thinking. This isn't 100%. This isn't even 5% going to happen. I'm just giving you guys what I think is going to happen after Ruin, my own thoughts. This isn't canon or anything. Even if the elevator ending is canon, the mimic is still down there, and the mimic has got an escape point now. I think in the next game, Gregory and Vanessa are going to return to the Pizzaplex, but not the way that you think. Oh, I think we'll get a few parts of the Pizzaplex. I really do think the game is going to be focused on all of those underground tunnels and other locations. We originally thought, right, with FNaF 6, that pizza place location was the original Fredbear's Family Diner. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that, and it makes the most sense. Henry lured everybody from the original story to the original Fredbear's location where it all began and burned everybody to death. Killed everybody. It's done. Where Charlie gets murdered outside of Fredbear's, it looks exactly like the back alley where the animatronics lie down on that wall. It looks identical. It makes the most sense, Henry bringing them back to kill everybody. I'm basically saying Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place originally was Fredbear's Family Diner. Now with sister location, we know Fredbear's Family Diner was connected to sister location and, you know, William Afton's house and stuff, they were all connected by underground tunnels, cave systems. You guys have already seen the map layout, but I'll show it again. Even the Twisted Ones book, Sister Location, we know that Sister Location, Fredbear's Family Diner, they were all connected through tunnels and cave systems by William Afton. Even in Ruin, you've got the Pizzaplex above Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. But even in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, you go even further down to where the Mimic is. Even there, I think that's showing that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place was built above Fredbear's Family Diner. You know, you're at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place in Ruin, and you go further down to where the Mimic is. You go down like a flight of stairs to go down to that. I think that storage facility was linked with Fredbear's, where the Mimic was sealed further down. I feel like that was Fredbear's Family Diner. And then even then, you go through a bunch of tunnel systems and you get to an elevator. Fan at the end of the hallway that looks very similar to like a Sister Location fan. You've got the scooper down there as well. The Pizzaplex was built above all of these tunnels. Sister Location is somewhere down there. Fredbear's Family Diner's down there. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, they're all down there, like a massive underground tunnel system. We know the Sister Location bunker is underground. Like, you get an elevator down there. So, wouldn't it be an amazing change and something amazing to play through? Playing as Gregory or Vanessa, or both, or Cassie, exploring the abandoned tunnels and rotten underground locations. Can you imagine going through a ruined Sister Location, a ruined Fredbear's Family Diner, going through all of the tunnels, maybe having an Easter egg where an elevator takes you to Afton's house or something, all doing that to stop the Mimic? You can imagine the Mimic going down to the Sister Location to build an army or something. Do you know what I mean? I think it would be really cool if that happened, you know. Maybe we go through the Pizzaplex a little bit at the start. Gregory and Vanessa are going down there to see what happened with Cassie. Maybe they can rescue Cassie. More importantly, I think they're going down there to fully stop the Mimic, end it once and for all. Maybe it ends with Gregory and Vanessa using the scooper on the Mimic or something. I don't know. And maybe that scooper ending was a foreshadow of what's going to happen in the next game. I don't know. It could be a mix of both. We could be playing as Gregory in one section where we're exploring the Pizzaplex, for example, looking for the Mimic. But then there's the next chapter, you're playing as Cassie. The elevators fell further down than Fredbear's, and you go through a tunnel that leads to the abandoned Sister Location or something. And we play as Cassie trying to find another elevator throughout the Sister Location to try and escape. Steelwool have got a great opportunity here to do something that's, again, very similar to the Ruin vibes that we got. I absolutely adored the environment of Ruin. So can you imagine the Ruin atmosphere through all the tunnels and the cave systems? But we're going back to old locations like a ruined Fredbear's Family Diner, a ruined Sister Location, trying to find a way out because the elevator's crashed. There's no way back up. I can just imagine Cassie trying to, you know, explore the rotten, ruined locations underground to try and find a way back up. During that, you got to deal with the Mimic or something. I do feel like it's building up to something here. Even if what I said doesn't happen where we explore the underground locations, I do feel like Steelwool left it at that point at a cliffhanger to tease the next game. The Mimic's still alive. Whatever happens, the Mimic hasn't been defeated. I do think the elevator ending is the canon ending. The Mimic is still down there. And I just feel like the next game is Gregory and Vanessa and maybe Cassie stopping the Mimic once and for all. Let me know your thoughts, guys. So who do you think cut the elevator after this video? Let me know your thoughts, please. Do you think the Mimic cut the elevator? And do you think Gregory at the end was the Mimic? If you do think it was the Mimic, let me know why, please. If you guys have got any more ideas why the Mimic would cut the elevator, or do you think Gregory cut the elevator? Do you think it was the trolley problem where Gregory had to decide what to do at the last moment to cut the elevator to stop the Mimic or save Cassie and have the risk of the Mimic escaping and killing a bunch of people? It's a hard one, isn't it? Do you think Cassie survived or not? And finally, where do you think this is going to lead to? Do you like my idea of going to explore the underground tunnels of the old Sister Location and Fredbear's Family Diner. I just feel like that would just be a really dark, gritty game. You know, going back to those locations and seeing them in ruin, dealing with the Mimic at the same time. You can imagine the Mimic building an army at that point. He goes back to the sister location. He goes back to Fredbear's and he makes a Fredbear Spring Bonnie amalgamation that joins him, or makes some sister location inspired animatronics that attack us and stuff. I can just imagine the Mimic doing something like that. It gives Steelwall the chance to make their own characters. You know, can you imagine a Fredbear Spring Bonnie amalgamation of rotten, rusty endoskeletons and stuff, or like a sister location inspired animatronic of like the old baby endoskeleton and stuff? And again, with that, let me know if you guys have got any ideas for the next game. If you want my opinion about Gregory or the Mimic, I do think that Gregory did cut the elevator. I feel like it makes the most sense out of the two. I don't see why the Mimic would cut the elevator, especially when the elevator's going up and you clearly see the Mimic there staring at Cassie while it's going up. How does the Mimic cut the elevator if he's still down there? It doesn't really make sense. I don't know. Maybe he had the power to cut the elevator to make the elevator go down instead of up. The Mimic did hack with the Vanny mask and stuff, as we saw with the Helpy. You know, so the Mimic does have a bit of power to do that. So who knows? Who knows? I'm sure we'll find out in the next game, no matter what happens. So I'm looking forward to it. I think Ruin was great. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Lots of love. And I'll see you all next time.